There are four actions which if one adopts, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will become waliullah, the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before he dies. With the blessing of practicing on these four actions, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will gain the ability of practicing on all the other commands of deen. This is due to the fact that generally people find these actions difficult, since it is difficult on the nafs, the inner self. You might have observed the student who managed to answer the difficult question in the question paper will have no problem in answering the easy question. For this reason, the one who surpasses his nafs for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and practicing on the following action, it will become easy for him to practice on the entire deen, and he will become the waliullah, the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first action is to keep lihya, beard, to the extent of 1 fist in length. It is wajib to keep a beard to the extent of 1 fist, just as it is wajib to perform witr salah, Eid salah on Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Similarly, it is wajib to keep a beard to the extent of 1 fist in length. My brother and sister in Islam, the second action is to keep the ankles exposed, means not to cover the ankles with the trouser, with the pants, etc. It is haram and a major sin for males to cover their ankles with their garments. The narration of Bukhari Sharif, it states, "Ma asfala min al-ka'bayn min al-izari fi an-nar." Whatever portion of the ankles is covered by any garments such as pants, lungi, kurta, sheet, etc. will be in the fire. So it is clearly understood from this narration that to cover the ankles is a major sin, because the warning of punishment of the hellfire, Jahannam, is not given with regard to the minor sins. The prohibition of covering the ankles with the garments worn from above is applicable in only 2 conditions. Number 1, while standing. Number 2, while walking. So while sitting, or you can say if the ankles are covered by one's izar, by one's, you can say, the trouser, so there is no harm. So some people are you can say under the serious misconception that it is only necessary to expose the ankles in salah. My brothers and sisters in Islam, therefore upon entering the masjid, that they fold up their pants and expose their ankles, and upon leaving once more, you can say, they unfold the pants. It should be remembered well that the provision of covering the ankle is not restricted to salah. They must remain uncovered by one's pant, kurta at all the time while standing or walking, or else one would be committing a major sin. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it demands us that we do not disobey them. If we obey every command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we are indeed true in our claim of love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brother and sister in Islam, the third action is protecting the gaze. In this time and age, there is a great neglect in this regard. Many people, they do not even regard the casting of lustful glances as a sin, whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the command of protecting the gaze in the Quran Sharif. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Say, O Nabi, to the believers that they should lower their gazes." This refers not looking at a non-mahram woman. If an accidental gaze falls upon a beautiful face, so turn the face away immediately. Do not allow the gaze to remain on the face even for one more moment. Dear friends, my brothers and sisters in Islam, practice on this perception of abstaining from lustful, you can say, glances, and see the effects for yourself. The heart will experience such sweetness of iman that as a result, the value for the you can say the kingdoms of the 7 continents will perish from one's heart. My brother and sister in Islam, the fourth action is protecting the heart. Together with protecting the gaze, it is also necessary to protect the heart as well. Some people, they protect the gaze of the eyes but do not protect the gaze of the heart. This means that they protect the eyes from casting lustful glances, but they do not protect the heart from thinking of beautiful faces. By means of such thoughts and imagination, they derive, you can say, haram pleasure. One should understand well that this is also haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares, Allah ta'ala knows the deception of the eyes and the secrets of the hearts. It is not sinful if the previous sins come to mind. Rather, it is sinful to bring these thoughts to mind. If an evil thought comes to mind, one will not be taken to task for it. But when an evil thought comes, it is haram to thereafter entertain the thoughts by thinking further about it, or to deliberately think of the past sin and to derive pleasure from it, or to plot committing a sin in the future. So these aspects will incur the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So another severe harm of thinking of the evil is that the desire to commit sin is intensified. As a result, there is a grave danger that one will become physically involved in sin. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and save us from all these haram actions. By the barakah of being protected from these sins, it will inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes easy to remain safe from all other sins.